Hey guys, wanted to do an update video on our 2020 police interceptor utilities. We're having issues, like, it's maddening. Like, I would love to drive this car into a river, but besides that, this is our 2020 police interceptor utility. It's got the 3-liter twin turbo in it, 24,000 mile car. I mean, it's like new still, kinda. So I guess the first thing I'll show you is fancy shock there. That dark area is the fluid running out of the shock. This was no surprise because this is the second unit that we've had that problem with. Ford will replace the shocks under warranty. Now this one is just starting, so it's a problem. But so that's one thing. And there's a recall for, I don't know if it's this bolt here, or which I see that does appear that I hadn't noticed that yet. If you see those splits in that bushing, I would say that bushing's almost completely torn in two the way that looks. I know that there's a recall for something with the rear end, something with bolts breaking or something like that. I don't really know for sure what that recall pertains to per se. I don't know. But this is one that we'd had already have had to have the transmission pan replaced. This driver side catalytic converter's been replaced, and then this pipe here from that clamp to that clamp has been replaced. And that's a fun story. That was supposed to be a $70 or $80 part. Okay, from, like I said, from that clamp to that clamp over there, what this flex pipe was I was quoted, it was like might have been like $86. So it took them like 3 weeks to get. Finally get it, go pick the car up, get the bill with the car, and the bill was like almost $700. And they said that this pipe is for a 2023. And it's funny because it fits our 2020 just like the one that was on it. But being it was a part for 2023, the price went up. Well, our Ford dealership is very good. I'm not a Ford fan, but our dealership is very good. And they ended up eating the cost and went after Ford for it. I don't know where they stood with that, how they came out, but we didn't end up paying anything for that part, which I thought was pretty epic for them. The reason this car come in was for a charging issue. And that charging issue is, it says service charging system now. It's no longer charging. And I'm trying to get my hat light shine up in there towards the alternator. It's in a real cute spot. So from what the codes depict, from what I gather, is the alternator's junk. Shocker. This is the first one we've had that problem with. Now this car's had both CV shafts replaced due to the outer boots ripping. As you can see, all the grease there, and then all the grease there. So they've been replaced, but they only band-aid the problem, put the same component right back in. It's not an updated version, nothing. So there's something with the geometry of the suspension that does not agree with the CV shafts, and it ends up ripping the boots. I don't know if they're turning too short. I don't know what the story is, but it doesn't work. And then the other issue I have noticed since having it in here, as you can see, there's oil hanging off those bolts. It's not coming from the drain. Another beautiful plastic oil pan. And there is oil up. This hat light's great for some applications. But there's oil hanging on the front diff right there and on this little manifold. But it appears as if the leak is the shocking location again of the front differential where it passes through the oil pan. Now, I don't know why Ford would think that I don't have an issue with the diff going through the oil pan. The issue I have is where it goes through the pan and it's not a sealed bore, I guess is the best way I can put it. Because like for instance the Chevy Trailblazer, GMC Envoy, Buick Rainier, all those have the front diff passing through the oil pan. With those, the funny thing is though, when they're two-wheel drive, they still have the four-wheel drive pan on them. And a squirrel could run through there if they wanted to. I mean, I don't know why he would, but he could, because it's a sealed hole. Well, apparently Ford, when they designed this, thought, oh, we need a pass-through. Hey, Johnny, go get the hole saw. We need to put this differential through the oil pan. Then they drilled a hole and threw an O-ring in there or whatever that fails. And that's their fix. And what we do is they go in and they pull the front diff back out. They put a new seal in and replace the one-time use bolts. Send you on your way. You get, if you're lucky, 20,000 miles and it's leaking again. Because they're not fixing it, they're band-aiding it. And I'm not calling out my Ford dealer, because they're using the resources they have. It's not their spot to redesign this car and make it better. But, you know, we've got a list of issues with this car. And all of our cars right now have problems. Every single one of them. There's one that doesn't have something that needs to go to Ford for, or multiple things that needs to go to Ford for. Another issue this car has is the lock cylinder problem with the driver's door. Can't unlock the door with the key half the time. Well, it's a little plastic lever that's wore out and junk. They have to replace the entire lock assembly, or the latch assembly. And that has the cables and everything, the power door lock actuator, all that gets replaced. The inside door lock button on the driver's door no longer works. Like I said, the charging situation, the oil leak down here, this is the one that burns typically around 2 quarts of oil or thereabouts per oil change. Now it's leaking oil also. And there's an oil leak on the top side of the engine now. I don't know what that is. I thought maybe it was from PD potentially putting oil in it and spilled some, but they said they haven't put any oil in it. It has the purge solenoid is junk, so when you put gas in it, it won't start. You give it like 5 minutes or crank it a few times, it'll finally fire up and run. And it doesn't affect the way the car runs, it just doesn't want to start because it vapor locks it when you put gas in the car. Our K9 unit's having air conditioner issues again. It's had the air charged twice now, and now it needs to be done a third time, which we're into the season where air's not an importance right now, but come next spring, you know, into summer, we're going to need air conditioning again, and Ford's going to have to charge it a third time, and they still don't know where it's leaking at. They can't find the problem. But trying to think what else this thing had, any of the other issues I wanted to discuss or not. But yeah, like I said, with that deal with the oil pan, I don't know why Ford couldn't encase that, or, you know, put a solid tube through there, engineer the pan to be sealed where the differential goes through. There's no reason why it can't be done, because I've seen it. I physically held the oil pan off of a V8 or a 5.3 liter Trailblazer that had the diff go through it. I put a new motor in one because it had a rod knock. And I mean, it's a big oil pan, but it's a stress member because the diff bolts to it. So I mean, it has to be fairly heavy. But it's like, I've seen it done, and it works. why would Ford think they could reinvent the wheel and make it better with no tube in there? I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like as far as how that differential works, because it's got to slip together somewhere. There's got to be a spline or something, because each half bolts the sides of the oil pan. So somewhere there's got to be a connection, one side to the other. And is it oil bath? I mean, how does that work? Don't know. But anyways, so yeah, just kind of curious if any of you guys that watch these have had any similar issues. I guess, like I said, throw it in the comments down there and let me know. Curious to see what everybody's got to say. I have really enjoyed the comments on my other video, people questioning, different things and telling me stories about their cars and whatnot. And so yeah, I guess if you have anything you want to tell me or ask me, shoot, I'm here. So I do try to respond to any comments that are made, if a comment's necessary. Sometimes people just comment a quick whatever, and they're not looking for a comment back. But if it's a question or something like that, I will answer you. So, well, that being said, that's everything I got on this one. So, thanks for watching.